For those of you who don't know, my name is Dr. Daniel Johnson. I'm the superintendent here of the Butler School District. During tonight, we're going to have a district overview. Again, rehash our mission, our vision, talk about what makes us who we are, then go into what the budget process was and the things that we have done and what we need to do annually, not just with the budget cuts that we've had this year, but what we need to do annually to be able to get each year's budget together, the goals of what we hope to accomplish within this year's budget, and then the proposed budget overall. All right, so the district overview. We are one of the few districts in the state of New Jersey that has used a portrait of a graduate as our vision. And this is our promise to you as a community when your students walk across the stage here or outside to get their diploma. This is what we promise to you we are going to do our best to be able to assist them with. We want to make them academically strong so that when they go out, regardless of what they choose to do, whether it's college, whether they're looking to go to a trade school, whether they're looking to go into the workforce, academically they have a foundation that's going to set them up for success. We want them to be collaborative communicators, someone who can work together with people, someone who could go through and not only be able to express their concerns, their views, their ideas, but do so in a manner that brings people together. We want them to be resilient. We are in a world that is constantly changing, that technology is consistently being upgraded, that there are problems that they're going to face. We want them to be resilient individuals who can get through that. We want them to be compassionate leaders. We believe everybody has the potential for leadership, and we try to help them with that. We want them to be visionary innovators. Each year, something new is coming out. Everything is changing. How are they going to innovate? How are they going to use the knowledge that's presented to them and make it their own? And lastly, we want them to be balanced. We want them to understand that life is more than one or the other. It's a combination of everything that makes it enjoyable and fruitful. Over the years, we have been able to continue to work toward making our district the best educationally that it can be. In that time, we've been able to garner recognition for our efforts. We have been named by the U.S. News and World Report as one of the best high schools, one of the best middle schools. Our elementary school is a national school of character. We were a NAM Best Community for Music Educators. We were an EverFi Champion District for our social and emotional aspects and the manner in which we go about trying to do character education. Just recently, I'm proud to share that our middle school was named only the 13th middle school in New Jersey as a school to watch. And we just were, actually earlier this week, our students went and competed at the art competition where we took best in show. And again, we talk about balance, about who we want our students to be, and I think this demonstrates the balance that we want them to have, that we value education, but we also value the arts. We also value who they can be and the leaders that they're going to become. District performance-wise, again, we continue to grow. As you can see, this is the results of last year's state testing, where we met the state standards for both math and ELA across the district. And on the next slide, what you'll see is that each year the state sets a goal for districts. We have exceeded that goal with our ELA programming, and we were just under exceeding it. A 60 is exceeding. We were at 57 in math. So we are showing the growth that we want to show, and our district has been successful due to that. So the budget process, what are the things that we do to make all of that happen? What are the steps that we have to put in place? How do we best utilize the funds that we have so that we can continue to build on our programs and strengthen them? Our budget process starts in October, believe it or not. We start planning the next year a month after we arrive for the current year. In October, we start to take a look at all of the initial numbers, the different projections for enrollment, the different things that we have that we're trying to accomplish in regards to academics, facilities, resources. We then go and set goals moving forward and then share our budget calendar with our leadership team. November, December, members of our leadership team put their budget proposals together. They then meet with us, myself and Ms. Vargas, who's our business administrator, and talk about the things that they have specific to their building, the things that they want to try to accomplish. January and February, we then take all of those meetings with our leadership team. We put them into our budget software. We start to work with what we're going to anticipate in regards to revenues and what we're hoping to anticipate in regards to school funding from the state. Then we start to lay out what we can and can't do. You know, a lot of times our principals and the leadership team will come to us because they have a lot that they want to accomplish. And a lot of times we have to break that up over a number of years. So we look to see what are the things we can do in that. And then in March, we finalize our budget, which is why we're here tonight, to talk about what that budget is. We then have to send that budget down to the New Jersey Department of Education tomorrow for them to preliminarily approve it. In April, we'll once again go through this presentation, and we will then get a final approval from the New Jersey Department of Education for our budget for next year. Now, I know the big thing and the thing that is concerning to everybody is the state aid reduction. And I know I had explained it in my recent newsletter, but just to go through quickly how that occurred. Basically, there was a change in our town in socioeconomic ranking. Not necessarily the socioeconomics itself, but the ranking used in the formula. And I want to state that the formula itself is not a person that sits down and takes a look at things and says, all right, well, we're going to dole this, this, and this out. Basically, they take all of the standards that are given to them across the state. They plug that into this program. The program then spits out what they believe is the fair share of funding that each district should get. Now, because we then had an increase to our socioeconomic status, the fair share of funding in that formula increased 9%. We as a district are only allowed to increase taxes by 2%. The 7% difference is the cut that we experienced. They then said the fair share, which that should be coming from the town, is this much. And we're going to get into what those numbers look like in a few slides as well. As I mentioned, we are only allowed to use a 2% tax levy, a 2% increase on the tax levy. And the tax levy and the 2% is also a misnomer, and we're going to get into that as well, because 2% is the tax levy, not all revenue. So while we have a $30 million budget, it's not 2% on $30 million. It's 2% on $19 million because that's the tax levy. So really what we're allowed to raise our budget each year is about 1.3%. But we're going to go through that also in a moment. So despite all of the things and the hurdles that we're facing right now, we still have a number of goals that we want to try to get through. And I think the thing that we've tried to do as a leadership team, and again, I want to thank them. They're here tonight in support of the plans that we're trying to put together. What we're trying to do is how do we continue to improve? Yes, we know that something has set us aback and there's a hurdle in front of us. But if we're going to teach our kids how to be resilient, if we're going to teach our students how to be innovative, if that's the tenets that we have hanging in our buildings, we have to demonstrate and model that for them. So we are going to get through this, the reduction, and we're going to continue to exemplify who we are as a district. So there are three areas that we look at every time we budget, and those help us set our goals. The first is facilities, the next is academics, and the third is culture and climate. Each year we try to address different goals within these three areas so that we can move our district forward, create the learning environment that we want for our students, and show growth in our outcomes. So what do we hope to accomplish facilities-wise? This is a view of what our new addition will look like inside the high school. I want to thank everybody for their support of our referendum and the fact that we're going to be able to address a lot of the concerns with our aging facilities and the safety concerns within our facilities. Right now, we're going to be able to connect the campus here so that students no longer have to go outside, so doors don't have to unlock. Again, increasing the safety. And I think this is a great visual of what our students are going to be able to have in regards to what that addition will be. The referendum goals that we're looking to accomplish this year in 24-25, we're going to begin construction on the Butler High School addition. We're going to complete the construction on the visitor vestibules at Aaron Decker and Richard Butler. We're going to begin all the renovations for the different restroom facilities at the high school and the middle school. We're also going to begin renovations on the lockers at the high school and the middle school so that our students can actually use them. We're going to begin renovations of the gym here at the high school, and we're going to complete the ADS parent drop-off loop. So we have a busy summer ahead of us. Additional facilities goals. Each year, in addition to what we do with the tax levy, we have also tried our best to go out and get a number of grants that will allow us to do things outside of our operating budget. Next year, we're going to be able to address HVAC concerns here at the high school. We did that at Aaron Decker over the last few years. We're now going to be able to do it here at the high school. We'll then go to the middle school. And we're going to be able to do that because we received grants for 40% of the cost of that. Again, finding ways to try to get things done with the limited funding that we have. We're also going to upgrade our safety and security in the district by upgrading all of the camera systems and our visitor management systems. Academically, as I said, that the reduction occurred. We're not going to put our heads down. We're going to say, what can we do to move forward? So I know the things that people are concerned about, and I want to strongly share this evening. Even with the reduction, we are not losing any programs. All of the things that we've put in place, all of the electives that we've put in place, they will remain. All of our athletic teams will remain. All of our activities will remain. All of the things that we think are important for students, and when we sat as a leadership team, we prioritized what would be best for children when we made the decisions going forward. All of our programs will be here. We also are committed to our class sizes, and all of our class sizes will remain smaller. They might not be as small as they were this year, but they're nowhere near where they are in surrounding school districts. So right now, if we're going to look at class sizes, K through 8, we're going to average between 18 and 20 students in a classroom. And I know right now it's around 16 to 18. However, we still think that we're at a good level with that amount of students in the classes. Different programs that will remain. Our intervention efforts that we've put in place over the last 3 years will remain. All of our intervention specialists will be here, our reading specialists, our math interventionists. All of our exploratory programs at the elementary and middle schools will remain. No art programs will be cut. No music programs will be cut. Everything will remain as it was. Our gifted and talented programming that took us 3 years to build will remain in the district. Teaming at the middle school will remain in the district. Our academic assistance programs that we started a few years back that allow our students to get help throughout the course of the day if they're involved in things after school, all of those will remain. As I mentioned, all of our athletic teams at both the middle school and the high school will be here. All of our activities, play, drama, the different things that make us who we are, they will all be here. Even as we face the hurdles, okay, we're going to look to build as well. So things that we're looking to add next year, we are going to look to add all electives at Richard Butler. When we did our strategic plan a few years back, one of the things that I know a lot of the people in the community shared with me was that they wanted electives and choice for students at the middle school. And we've been working toward being able to offer electives to our students there. Those electives will then let them explore different interests that they have that will then help when they get to the high school so that they can work with their counselor to have a pathway. So we're going to add all of those electives in at the middle school. We're also going to start a broadcasting program in the middle school and the high school. Tomorrow morning, I'll be having breakfast with George Muha from Morris Sussex Sports, who wants to work to assist us with that. So even though we face these hurdles, we're going to get through them and we're going to come out better. Culture and climate-wise, again, we look to build on all aspects of our program. We are going to continue with all of the things that we have done culture and climate-wise, Character Strong, all of the SEL programming. One thing we did lose in the budget was the third RPO. We did not have the money to be able to hire that. I did go to the town and ask if they would assist us with that. We're going to see if they're going to be able to assist us with that. Okay? But even though it's not in there next year, we still have the security vestibules. We're still going to have the enhanced cameras. We're still going to have the enhanced system. So I know that we're still working on safety in all of our facilities. As I mentioned, we're going to keep character strong. We kept our counseling programs and all of our counseling groups. We still have our behavioral threat assessment teams in place and our student assistance counselor. We're still going to continue with all of our parent nights, and I know I saw a few of you at our most recent night at ADS, and I think it was a great night there as well. But we do family math nights, family literacy nights, the STEAM nights, FAFSA nights here at the high school, different planning events. We're going to continue with everything that we've always done. So that brings us to our budget. Now, I know that we talked initially about the fact that we lost state aid, but there are other hurdles that also make budgets, particularly the last 2 years, difficult. Over those last 2 years, we've seen a 200% increase in transportation costs. And I know the first thing people say is, yeah, but we're not a busing district. Where do transportation costs come from? They come from any number of areas, whether we're transporting our athletes to different events, whether we have students in out-of-district placements that we need to transport. We do have students that are in Butler but live across Route 23 that get transported. All of those things all lend to increases in our transportation. Our out-of-district costs for students that are placed out of district have also seen a 200% increase. The state stopped regulating what those costs were 2 years ago, and due to that, we have seen those costs continue to rise. We're lucky. Dr. Marks is here, and he's our assistant superintendent, works with our special services department. We're lucky that we're able to build programs to keep as many of our students here, but there are some students that need things that we can't provide. So they are in out-of-district placements for that, and we have seen large increases in those costs. Our maintenance and custodial supplies, we've seen a 300% increase in those costs, due to supply and demand, transport, and different varied reasons for that. But lastly, we've experienced a 200% increase in our fuel, heating, and electricity costs over the years. And I'm sure you guys have seen that at home as well. So it brings us to the actual numbers. Revenue-wise, in 23-24, our tax levy was $19,065,000. A 2% increase brings us to $19,446,000. That equates to a 1.29% increase. And that's what I was explaining to you earlier in regards to the miscalculation that some people say, well, it's 2% on the total budget. It's not. It's only 2% on the tax levy. So if you take that local tax levy and you look at our other revenues, our tuition, what we get from the state for SEMI, which is special education monies, our fund balance, transfer from cap reserve, transfer from maintenance reserve, other local sources, miscellaneous incomes, and debt service, it brings us to the numbers that we then used to get to our final budget to balance it to make up for the loss in state aid that we had. State aid formula, again, things that have affected us that you're going to see were difficult for us to get through. Usually we get transportation aid, $215,000. Even though we've seen that 200% increase, we got no additional aid for transportation. Equalization aid, that's the normal state funding that we get. That's where we experienced a $960,000 reduction. Special education aid was $1 million, and we did not get an increase for that. Debt service is regular, and then security aid, we also saw no increase. So across the board, I know a lot of schools did well, and again, I want to celebrate the people in our state who have worked to fund public education. It's the first time that the funding formula has been fully funded in education in New Jersey in a very long time. It doesn't mean that there aren't aspects of that state funding formula that unfortunately we as a district got caught in. We are working together with Senator Bucco, Ora Dunn, and different members of the government that we will meet with starting next week to see if there's anything we could do to try to recoup some of that aid. However, our budgets are due tomorrow, so we have to plan for what we have. So, appropriation-wise, when we look at what that money is, what do we have to do in regards to the different sections of how that money gets broken up? Capital outlay makes up 1.7% of that budget, so $520,000 goes to capital outlay. Instruction makes up the bulk of where our monies go. So about 73% of our total budget goes toward instruction for students. Support services is at 8%. Administration is about 9.5%, and operations are at about 8%. So if we look what that means bigger picture-wise, the thing you're going to notice, our 23-24 per pupil cost and our 24-25 per pupil cost, you're seeing a reduction because we lost that state aid. So you went from $22,745 per student to $22,305 per student. Classroom instruction saw an increase still in regards to what we're going to put toward the things that I just told you was our promise in regards to keeping all of our programs. So classroom instruction next year, $11,996 will go toward that, out of that each student. Support services, we see a small increase. We are at about $3,900, and we're going to go up to about $4,000. Administrative costs, you're going to see the biggest decrease. We are cutting different things that we as a leadership team, we're planning and not having additional people to help us. And we're all going to take different roles on in the district to try to keep our district moving forward. So you're seeing a decrease in administrative costs. Operations costs, you're going to see is about steady. So I know I said to you earlier that I was going to demonstrate to you the different numbers of how we kind of got caught up in the funding formula. So if you look at your 22 home valuations in town, the average home was evaluated at $251,668. This year, the average home is valued at $381,144. So you are seeing about a $130,000 increase in assessed valuation for your homes. Due to that, the funding formula pushed us into a different socioeconomic bracket that then forced us to get less funding. If you look at what the average school budget was, and again, I know another question that I've gotten, particularly this year, is our taxes are going up in town. Aren't you getting more money in the schools? Unfortunately, no. Even if your individual taxes have gone up, that does not increase the tax levy to the schools. And I'm going to go through that in a second. But on average, the tax increase for the schools is about $100 a year. It's $101.40 a year over the 3 years of those evaluations reassessments that I just shared with you. So we are not seeing those increases toward funding here. And I really wanted to share that because it has been a question that I've been getting from a lot of parents about, well, we should be able to do more because you're getting more taxes. We can only raise it on that levy. To simplify that a little bit, okay? I'm way ahead of you, Mike. No, you're good. To simplify that a little bit, to break it down and just make the levy straight numbers. If the starting tax levy for the district was $1 million, we can only raise money on that $1 million. So back in 24, when home values were $280, if it was $1 million then, I can only go 2% on that. If the reassessments had your personal taxes go up, that does not come to me. So if you went from if your taxes went up $1,000, only $100 of that is on the 2% levy that comes to the schools for funding. I do not know where the other $900 go. So if that's a question that you're going to ask, I don't know that. I only know what I get. But I think it's important to note, because I know that there's a lot of confusion that surrounds a number of facets that have happened in our town. And again, to no one's fault. I am not here saying that the town council or any of the town government did something wrong. They were told by the County of Morris to do the reassessments. So it wasn't their choice either. You know, we are here trying to work through it together. And I will say we have the support of the council and the mayor. They're working to help us as well because they know how important the school district is to our town. Another question that I have been getting is, well, can't we get grant money to make up for it? We have continued to go out to try to get as many grants as we can throughout the years to assist us with different things in the district. So I wanted to break down what those grants were and the amounts that we have. So ESSER grant-wise, Over the last 3 years, we've gotten $250,000 to our district. ROD grants, $527,000. Cybersecurity grant we just wrote, but we're looking to get money that will help us with all of the security items that we're trying to do in the district. And again, our Ed Foundation has given us $60,000. So we're at almost $1 million worth of additional funding grant-wise that we've been able to bring into the district over the last 3 years to help us do the things that we want to do. And we're going to continue to go out and try to get as many grants as possible to help fund our programming. What have we done with the grant money? HVAC projects in our schools. We have the Makerspace at Aaron Decker. We have the McGolder Think Center at Richard Butler. We have the iLab here at the high school and the 3D printing lab. We've done all of the climate education. We've upgraded our technology infrastructure to allow our one-to-one continue to work well. We created our summer enrichment programming and our intervention programming. We have the Bulldog Hour, which is an after-school tutoring. We have a sensory pathway at Aaron Decker. We've updated all of our furniture and equipment in our 3 kitchens. And we got instrumentation at Aaron Decker. So we continue to try to find outside-the-box solutions in what was already a tight budget. So different questions, different things that people have been coming to me, and I wanted to try to be proactive and address some of them. The first question I've been getting is, did the referendum play a role in reducing our state funding? And it did not. The referendum is not part of our budget. The referendum has nothing to do with the tax levy, and it cannot be incorporated into anything that we do in our schools other than what you as the public voted for in that referendum. So even if at the end we had $1 million left over, I can't take that $1 million and use it to hire teachers. It has to be specific for the questions that are in the referendum. Another, can we, like I said, can we take allocations from that and add it to the district? There's a thing called Fund 40. We get audited on our Fund 40. If we use any of that money outside of, within Fund 40, outside of what it was allocated for, we as a district get fined. Will the district be able to receive additional funding in the years to come to make up for what we lost this year? I would love to say yes, but I've been doing this now for 30 years and I've never seen that happen. Usually they say this is what your adjustment is and this is what it's going to be. I'm hopeful with the meetings that I shared with you that we're going to have with our state representatives that we might be able to recoup some of the monies this year so we don't have to look at that in the coming years. But normally, once they reduce what your funding is, particularly now that they say that all schools are 100% funded, I do not anticipate us being able to recoup the monies that we lost if this push this year is unsuccessful. What is the overall result of loss in the district? Overall, we're going to unfortunately lose 20 positions. Those 20 positions will be made up of teaching staff, support staff, administration, custodial and maintenance and support staff. We spread it across to try to have the least impact on the students as we could. And again, I'm proud to say that our class sizes are what they are, that we're still keeping our programs, that we're still keeping our electives, that we're still going to add things for next year. However, the unfortunate part of our role is we are going to have to reduce 20 positions. What is the overall result of the loss in state aid for the children within the Butler School District? As I said, we are not going to affect them. We are going to keep everything that we've always had. We are committed to that. And as I said, we're going to continue to move forward. At the bottom of all my letterheads, we say pride, tradition, excellence. I change it a little bit to determination. We're not going to let anything slide. We're not going to lay our heads down and feel sorry for ourselves. We are going to get through this, and we're going to do it successfully, and we're going to continue to be the best small school district in the state. That's why we say it takes more to be a bulldog. I want to quickly thank the leadership team that are here, Dr. Marks, our assistant superintendent, Ms. Vargas, our business administrator, Mr. Fitzgerald, our high school principal, Mrs. Papa, our middle school principal, Mr. Manko, our elementary school principal, Mr. Tobin, our assistant principal at the high school, Mr. Hall, one of our high school assistant principals and athletic director, Mrs. Molina, who is our RBS assistant principal, Ms. Lynch, who is our STEAM supervisor, Mrs. Greco, our humanities supervisor, Mr. Cronin, who's in the back helping me with my technological difficulties this evening, and Mr. Scaparo, our director of buildings and grounds. So I'm going to open it up for questions. Colin has a mic. He will come around if you have a question, and then we can all work together on this. Anybody? Thanks, Carl.
How does the per student amount of money that we have here in the Butler District compare to other schools? I believe you showed the number of 22,000
Yes, ma'am.
per student. Can you give me an idea how that compares to other school districts?
We're right in the middle. There are districts that have a much higher per pupil cost, and there are some districts that have lower. So we're probably right in the middle of that. You're welcome. Well, again, I thank you all for coming out. We did videotape this presentation. If you have friends that were not able to make this tonight, we are going to put the presentation on our website for people so that they can then see the presentation, and if they have questions, they can email or call me, and I will answer anything that I can for them. And again, I thank you. I know that you're here because you care about our programs, you care about our children, you care about our school district, as do I. And I am going to end with something I know I've said, but we are facing it head on. We are modeling for our children what we believe we want them to become, all right? And we are going to come out of this better. Thank you very much.